I've got a confession to make.
I need to get this off my chest. As a business owner, we all make mistakes.
I've got to confess.
And we are live. Kim Barrett joining me once again. This is Confessions of a Business Owner. How are you doing, dude?
Doing very well, Mr. Charley, sir. How are you doing?
I'm really well. It is very fitting. And for those of you on the video right now, it's like I'm in the Melbourne winter of freezing at the moment and have about 10 layers on. And Kim is just rocking a t-shirt over in nice sunny Perth.
It's actually raining today, but inside is warm. But yeah, it's good weather here in Perth.
Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it, dude. So today we've got an awesome topic, one that I'm very excited to kind of share with the listeners and speak more about because it's something we both take so seriously, and that is leverage. So I'm pretty pumped for this one. How do you feel about it?
I am excited also. We're talking, it was funny, I was talking to someone before just about this, and we're talking about creating leverage in our business and how it unlocks freedom. And they're saying, Kim, we encourage you to start riding a bike like Charley does. And I was like, look, I haven't got quite the level of leverage that Charley does yet for me to become a bike rider, but I'm on the way. I'm on the way there.
I think we can get you there. New goal. We're going to set this goal right now. So this episode came to be because of an experience I had, and I want to go through that experience now. And I felt there was a really kind of useful way to take that somewhat negative experience and then turn it into something useful for the listeners. So I'm going to go into that story now. So something I do quite often is I'll go for a bike ride during the week, which is what you can do when you've got leverage. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. When you have leverage, you have more freedom to do things like that. And I posted a photo on my Instagram of me riding my bike saying how Mondays should be done. And obviously a little bit of tongue in cheek to everyone that had to go to work that day or had to go into their business and was, let's just say, a little bit not happy about it. So someone reached out to me and they said, well, basically they weren't happy about it, and they went to the idea of saying, well, I don't have that type of leverage in my business, and began giving me kind of all the excuses on why they don't and how there's all these other things that are more important. So I put it to this person and I said, well, what are you doing to change that? What are you doing to create more leverage in your business? And this person said, it kind of looked at me funny, you know, when you realize you've said something unexpected. They kind of looked at me and just went, nothing. And it was a very sobering moment. Now, the one thing I will say is at least this guy was honest and said nothing and wasn't under the false illusion that they were creating leverage and not really getting there. So I will say this is like, you know, leverage is one of those things that is incredibly powerful. But if you don't have it, you know, best be honest about it and say, well, look, I'm not actually doing anything yet at the moment, and then take that as the moment to do things differently. But that's what spawned the idea for this episode. So in this episode, we're going to be going through the 5 different types of leverage that you can create in your business, and ultimately what leverage can do or what it can create from that. So Kim, I thought it'd be a really good idea if we defined leverage first, and I want to hand this one over to you and I suppose get your point of view of how you think about leverage, or what is leverage.
Definitely. And I mean, like the thing that always pops into my head when we talk about leverage or we use the term is really, you know, back in the school days, I'm going to say it's physics. I can't remember if it's the correct terminology, right? But it's basically you have, again, excuse me for any of the physics or scientific industry that are watching, like you have a fulcrum, you have something here, a heavy thing here, and you need to be able to move it. And that's kind of being able to generate leverage, right? As opposed to going, I have 1,000 rocks here and I need to get them here, and dragging them one by one. How do I put a lever in between to allow me to really easily and effortlessly move them across? And obviously liking that to business is going, cool. It's like we have all these things to do every single day, our tasks, our objectives, our goals, and we need to kind of get them completed, or we need to have them to come to some sort of fruition. So basically leverage is going, what are the key components? What are the 5 things that actually, you know, the pentagon of success, if you will, 5 points that are going to help bring the things from over here being undone, incomplete, things that we need to work on, to getting them over here to being in action, to fulfillment, to actually getting them done and getting the outcome.
It's funny, you've taken me back to year 10 physics when it's the guy that has to lift the tree off someone. So a big tree's fallen down in the forest and he needs to be able to lift the tree so he can free someone that's trapped under it. And he realizes he can't lift it himself. So he gets this really, really long stick and kind of wedges it in and pulls down. And then that's how he's able to raise the log. So flashback moment right there. And I think it's a really cool perspective. But for me, when I think about leverage in a business, what I'm ultimately talking about is creating the ability to get more done without me needing to do any more, if anything, to achieve that. So it's all about more happening without increasing more of my time or more resource required from me, which is the perspective I'm kind of taking to it from there. So when you look at your business right now, Kim, what's creating the most leverage for you?
It's a good question. I would probably say, and ours has kind of been up and down all over the place at the moment. But probably the biggest thing creating it is our team, and I'll asterisk that with good team, because again, leverage when it comes to people and leveraging finding the right people, the A players or whatever you want to call them. Like, I think you can probably get like 4 times more leverage from an A player versus a I don't know what to describe them, a non-A player for nice for niceness, if we will.
There's definitely qualities of leverage or qualities of people. And I do agree with that comment is like, one good person is worth 4 average. And I've certainly seen that to be true time and time again. I would rather have fewer people in my business that are all A players than a bigger team of average players. And I'll bet that there's smaller A player companies that get a lot more done than most bigger ones.
Yeah, and again, the asterisk with that is like, for what we do, I think that you need it. It's like, if we were McDonald's churning out hamburgers, it's like, and you have the use leverage of a system, and it's like, well, really, you can have as many B, C, D, X players, Y, Z players if you want, because if they can just literally follow an instruction, then they can achieve an outcome. But I think for small business especially, like, you need to have like just such a good team amongst many other things.
Absolutely. And that is such a good segue to the first form of leverage, or the first category of leverage that I want to get into from here. So category number 1, and I've divided this into different categories. So category number 1 is other people's time, but more specifically, I want to go into the examples here, is that this is staff and contractors. This is people you can pay to do the work. So Kim, what do you have as an example of that in your business?
Well, I'll talk about my business, but also in my life also. So like for us, like a really key person on our team is Christy, who's our general manager. So she takes care of all of the like day-to-day operation things, which obviously allows me, like, that's a big leverage point, because there's so many, like there's, for example, 7 different components or areas of our business that I need to have focus on, and she's across all of them. So it just alleviates for me having to even think about them, and we talk about them on a high level, but she's kind of in charge of everything that happens there. So that would kind of be number 1, definitely. Number 2 is our, again, cheeky little plug here for Outsourcing Angels. We have some great assistants here, personal assistant who runs all my emails, who leverages all of that, because again, that's more like one-to-one time, and I try and alleviate any of my one-to-one time so I can focus on finding those other areas for leverage. Because if I don't do that, then I kind of get left behind, and it's very easy to get back into the rubbing your nose against the grindstone versus trying to find that free time. And if I spend even just an hour a day on email, that's an hour a day I could spend on other areas when it comes to building leverage. And then thirdly would be my point in my personal life is that I buy literally all my lunch meals pre-packaged, pre-made, and I have a cleaner that comes and cleans our house, because for me, using that actually frees me up more space and capacity in my business, because each day in the morning, I go do my exercise, I go into work, I start my daily routine, and I get into things. I don't have to think about what lunch I got to pack, lunch I got to make. It's already all, from today in the fridge, ready for me to go. So it frees up my capacity again for even thinking about anything like that.
That's a great example, by the way. I almost didn't think of that. And effectively, you're buying someone's time in meal prep, or you're buying someone's time in cleaning, and that gets you the extra hours from there. So people, to me, is the easiest form of leverage to understand and apply. This is something you can start with today. So in the example you just used, if you paid someone to prepare your meals and to clean your house, you've just bought that time back, and that's great leverage. So you can be out on a Monday riding your bike on Nepean Highway in Victoria. But there's some really good examples there. I would say, in my experience, we can look at this in another way, like bookkeeping, accounting. There's so many versions of buying someone else's time so that you don't have to do it to free yourself up. I think this is the initial category most people should start with, is leveraging other people's time.
Now, this is an interesting one, right? Because it's the one that, again, in this conversation, we logically think of. But I would say this is probably the one that most business owners do look to last. Because I find that they try and keep everything so tight to them, and it's like they don't kind of want to let go. Or I think we did this on the whole episode around virtual assistants and whatnot, and that also, it's like they dip their toe in and they pull back, and they don't really kind of commit 100% to doing it. I think, and it was fine when like hiring and firing people, so many people, I think they kind of either hold on to people or they just don't want to go and get them. They're like, they get too scared of it and no one else is going to do it as good as me, kind of avenue. So it's probably one of the best leverage points, but I reckon probably one of the ones that people would turn to the least if they don't have the knowledge that we're kind of sharing here today.
Absolutely. And I want to go through these really quick. I've decided I'm going to pull this one up and we're going to do a little bit of a deeper one. So if you're someone and you're looking to buy other people's time to create more leverage for yourself, cleaning and cooking, really good starting points. In business, I would almost say bookkeeping and accounting are two you should definitely not be doing. But then the next ones you start to look at is like your virtual assistant or PA, I think is one where every business owner has $10 an hour tasks they shouldn't be doing. That is something you've got to get off your plate early. Otherwise, you're going to be bogged down doing big hours. So they're the ones I would start through from there. And then the next one would be like people that actually do the work in your company if you're a smaller band. But they're definitely the order of ones I would look at from there.
Yeah, 100%. I think any of those areas where there's, like I would say, experts that you can pay for a much cheaper price, as you said, like for the bookkeeper and accountants, like, yes, you can learn how to reconcile your accounts in Xero, but should you do that? Probably not.
Definitely not. Unless you are a bookkeeper or an accountant, then yes, you should. But definitely on that one from there. Okay, so I want to go into the next categories. The first one was, other people's time. The second one I'm going to go through here is other people's money. Controversial category 2.
This is an interesting one.
So I'll go through some examples here. Like, how can we leverage other people's money? The obvious one is loans. Like, you can loan money from the bank. You can use that money to invest in your business to grow it at a rate bigger than the interest rate. And that can be a really, really powerful strategy. The second one would be credit cards. Like, every time you use a credit card, that is effectively, leveraging someone else's money because you haven't paid for that yet. And then the third one I look at from there is investors. So you could take an investment into your business and leverage other people's money in that way, shape, or form. Have you dabbled in this area, Kim? Are you someone that's used other people's money in your business, or are you more of a from your own cash type of guy?
Somewhat. Pretty much majority from our own cash, everything kind of operates. And that's more so from necessity than choice, just because I've previously had terrible money management. So I'm not going to use any credit facilities apart from there's 2 ways that I've leveraged and I found them both really effective. So number one is the blessed way in which Facebook ads work is the fact that you don't pay for your Facebook ads until you've hit either your limit or it hits the end of the month. So most accounts start with a limit of $950 or the end of the month being the 30th, 31st, 28th, depending on what the month is. So for us, when we got started, that was a really effective way. And it's also a really effective way for our clients when we're talking to them. It's going, well, you can leverage this and go, let's just say it's $950. You got, say it's $10 a lead that you're getting business for. There's 95 leads that you can get with before you even have to pay for it. So if your business is good at what it does, you should be able to get a return before you even have to pay your bill for that service. So that's something that we regularly use all the time, is the fact that we've got that leeway, that kind of runway where we can get a result before we have to kind of flick anything over, which is always good. It's almost free credit, if you will. And then the one that I really like to use, which is somewhat using that as well, which is PayPal working capital. So because we get a lot of overseas clients who pay us using PayPal, we get affiliate commissions from programs that we refer through PayPal. We utilize PayPal working capital, which means that we can PayPal provide us with funds that we get to spend on. Most of the time, it's either marketing or subscriptions, like all the different platforms that we use and whatnot. And they just take back their return from the money that we're already getting in from our affiliate programs and such. So for us, without being an official like loan or credit, we really like to use that. It works really powerfully, especially when we have like a big launch or a big push that we're doing for something. It allows us to free up that extra capital to push towards something, which works really, really well for us when you have. And I think like what you mentioned there, like as long as you have a good like you actually have an intention and you have a goal and target when you're going to do it, then I think it works versus just going, oh, cool, I'll get a $20,000 credit card for fun, for, shits and gigs. Why not? But actually doing it for like a purpose and knowing I'm going to do it for this, to get this outcome, to get me to here, I think that it works really well.
Oh, bit of technical difficulties, but we are back, and undoubtedly our editors have made us look fantastic. So thank you so much, guys. Where we dropped out is, Kim, you just made a fantastic point about how you're using other people's money to create more leverage in your business. And I thought, in my opinion, very, very smart way of going about it. So with Facebook as the example, that $950 you're spending on ads, you're effectively borrowing money from Facebook. Not really, but kind of. And then you're allowing your business to bring in some results from that marketing to pay that back. So very, very clever way where people can get started with Facebook ads. As I've said, guys, we are not financial advisors. I can't say if that's right for everyone, but if you're working with a marketing professional and they think that's a good move for you, then maybe that's something you can investigate. But I really like how you've been clever with those windows. So for me, the big one I really like to use is that in my business, in a service type business, is something we're always battling with is getting cash in. And if we're always paying cash out, it can be very dangerous for our cash flow. So what I particularly like to do is use credit cards or a credit card to postpone the paying of things like some certain software subscriptions or marketing costs, so that I can make sure we get all the cash in for the month and then pay them off on the credit card before the interest-free period is up. And I've just found that's a really great way to manage your cash flow really well, but it's also a great way to leverage things so you're never short on cash yourself. So both of us doing it in a bit of a unique way there, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Now, personally,
sorry, do you mind if I jump in on that point for you as well?
Absolutely.
I'm going to throw you off track. I know there's 2 platforms now that come out that also allow you to leverage those things across the board, pretty much on any bill that you have. So one, Asterisk, all intents and purposes, is a client. They're called Card Any Bill. And the other one's called Reward Pay. And they actually allow you to pay anything, even the ATO, your rent, all these sorts of things on your card, so that you can leverage that cash-free, the interest-free window, whether it's 55 days or whatever it may be. But it also then allows you to leverage points. So, if you're someone who travels quite regularly, like me, I just literally ticked over to Platinum Frequent Flyer because I fly so much. Having the ability to leverage those points, kind of other people's money also, even though you're going to pay it out of your cash flow anyway, also allows you to pull those things up, which means you can, fly in business class, you can get extra seats or free flights also. So it's like a double dip of leverage, if you will, as well.
Yeah, so, spending the same money, getting flyer points and an interest-free window, that sounds like leverage to me. I really like that. Now, personally, it's like I'm not a big fan of bank loans or taking out massive loans for things in the type of business I had. But where I think that is really applicable, if you're a printer, for instance, hypothetically, and you want to buy an asset, which is a printer, might cost, I don't know, some expensive printers out there, let's say $100,000. If you were going to, borrow $100,000 to get a printer that could then generate you $10,000 a month of income, that might be a really good idea for you. So sometimes in the type of business you're at, borrowing money for assets can be a really, really effective way of doing things. In the era of the internet, I can't see many internet businesses needing to get that type of equipment, but certainly something that's really worth considering in the type of different businesses you can have from there. Or again, it's like you might borrow money to buy a property that you have your business within. So you're, leveraging that money for a place to have your business run from and creating an asset at the same time. So really good category. But I must admit, I've been a bit scared of taking investment. Like I'm a bit uncomfortable with the idea of someone giving me, 5 mil to, grow a business, because I'm like, I'm not sure I'd feel the pressure. I really would. I'd much rather, in my mind, lose my own money than lose someone else's money. So I think, there's an element of being responsible and knowing where you can be effective, which can make a huge difference on that front.
Yeah, 100%. And to also add on to the point you made before around like purposes of getting some of those loans, like one that we've had a client most recently do is also doing it for acquisition. So they have a round, if you will. They have a particular product or service, a monthly service they go to houses to do. They bought the neighboring suburb. They bought that out. So for them, like, it was a big expenditure, but it basically doubled their income, but also doubled the capacity, because they also had machinery and equipment that came with it as well. So I think, as you say, like, getting the right advice and knowing strategically whether or not you should do something is the only time you should take a step in any of these probably categories, I think, is a big one, in knowing why you're going to do it.
Absolutely. But I like that. I really like that. Acquisitions, I think, is a wise thing to use other people's money for if you're going down that path. All right, now we're going to go into the next category here. So we've done other people's time. Now we've spoken about other people's money, but this one I like a lot is other people's experience. So overlooked, I think this one is like, in the world we live in today, is you can hire great mentors. You can join masterminds or groups with people that are experienced in a certain thing, or you can even hire experts who can advise you to save you a ton of headaches and frustrations from having to work things out on your own.
100%. Like, I think this is probably one that I've leveraged the most, and I consistently leverage, is because it's so much easier to literally just ask someone a question and get the advice from someone that's already done it, versus trying to go through your own trials and tribulations and figure it out for yourself. And I think it's probably one of the, like, I would say, arguably, anyone that's had great success, one of their fastest paths, I think, would be leveraging this point exactly. Like, we've both done it, and many people do it, leveraging our successes and experiences also. And I think this is, like, if you only did this one, I think that would be like a very, very, like, fast accelerator of any business.
Absolutely. Well, I think you've got to do them all. I think it's a mass effect. Like, there's a compound effect in doing every one of the categories we talk about from here. But when I think about this one, I can see we've both done a lot of it. And I agree with your point. It's a very, very powerful way to accelerate a business. Is like, you could be going through business trying to work it out all on your own, and a lot of trial and error, which can be very expensive, cost a lot of time as well. Or you could just go to someone that's already kind of been through these hurdles and go, this is the path, which I think is immensely powerful and something, as you've said, take very, very seriously. From your perspective, though, I mean, when you look at your business today, is there things you're looking at or expertise you're on the hunt for at the moment?
To be honest, there always is. Like, there's always room to grow. It's like, I've had great mentors and gotten great advice in the space of marketing and developed my own process there. Sales, also same thing. I think, like, the next one for me, and it's like, I always know, and it's like, is a friend of mine. I've met him several times, hung out, a guy called Alex Sharfin. And I don't know if you consume much of his stuff, Charley, but I consider him to be on a very similar wavelength to you. But I just love his stuff, and I love his structure of team, organization, communication processes that he has. It's like something that I think we could definitely, like, level up with. And just knowing him, I'm like, I feel like there's going to be something that I get from him, and he's going to be the person I ask for it. Like, it just always kind of, like, it's been nibbling on me ever since I listen to his podcast a lot, and I'm like, yeah, he's definitely someone I'm going to ask for things. And everything else, like, to be honest, I'm probably already asking the right questions. Like, I have you, Charley, where I get to reach out about team outsourcing systems, something I always probably heavily leaning on at the moment. But they're probably the big ones for me. But every kind of time that my business had a shift or a leap, if you will, has been because I've started going and intensively looking for the people that can help. And, we are very beneficial in the fact that we get to help people as well inside the association, and they get to leverage our experiences and ask us questions. And tomorrow, I'm going to be giving them probably arguably one of the only people in Australia that teaches it a lot, going into like the process of bots and automation and things like that for people inside their marketing. So being able to share that as well also kind of excites me too.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some great examples in that. And I even joke, as you said that you leveraged me, is like I leveraged you at the start of this episode with your marketing skills, help create the title for this episode. I'm like, dude, like you're better at this than I am. Like save me the headache of sitting here for an hour trying to come up with a good title. Took you maybe 30 seconds. So it's like, absolutely. You've got peers, you've got people, mentors or coaches you might go through from there, and groups like you've mentioned, like the association, where it's like you get to leverage other people's experience to just go so much faster in every area of your life. I think it's immensely powerful. I would argue
100%.
If you just pick an area of your life that you want to improve and then just find someone who's done it and then pay them to say and take you through how you've done it, like there's a really powerful way to just move in any direction you want to.
Oh, 100%. It's very similar. It's like you find, as I said, anyone that's had any success, they've gone cool. They've found someone to help them, work with them, and level them up and do it. And it always works. Like, it's like the guy who is now like, shredded Mr. Olympia with a six pack. It's like, cool. He had to hire a trainer first, and he had to do all the processes, and now he got the outcome that he was looking for. It's like, I would say it's the fastest way. It's not the only way. Like, yes, you can still go and do it by yourself. But if you want to do it in 1 year versus 5 years, or 6 months rather than 18 months, like that's really the only way to do it, is leveraging other people's experiences and knowledge. And, like, yes, there's also like, but I think there's also some people like, not put a damper on, but they don't kind of leverage as well. It's like, there's so much free knowledge. Like, look in the personal development space. You can probably get every single Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, like Zig Ziglar audio ever on YouTube that you can leverage from people that have gone out and done it, but then people will never do it, right? It's like it's sitting there. It's like in the palm of your hand.
Isn't it interesting? It's like when people don't pay for things, they don't necessarily value them. There's people out there that would have paid for those CDs that are up there now for free, pretty much. I don't know if they're legally there or not, as well, as a disclaimer, but it's like the people that paid for that and listened to it and did the stuff probably got a lot of value out of them. But that education that's sitting there, which you can leverage something like that in a big way, is just so cool. So I agree with all those points there, Kim. Very, very powerful one. But we're going to move into our next topic from here. So other people's experience, but this is a new favorite of mine. This is definitely a favorite of mine, is you can leverage other people's trust. So, I mean, there's a very, very famous story about, the Rockefellers around that. What they used to do once upon a time is in the stockroom floor, all he would do is walk around the floor with his arm around someone, and then that person's company would skyrocket because everyone would want to invest in that person because they'd been seen with a Rockefeller. I think there's a very powerful lesson in that today, is that, if Richard Branson or Tony Robbins or Russell Brunson or Elon Musk endorsed your company publicly, what would it do for you?
Yeah, you would assume it would have a great positive effect.
Yeah, well, I should emphasize this by saying, let's assume a positive things happens from here, but we can see there's immense power in things like endorsements and really leveraging someone else's trust. Like, they have the trust of a marketplace, and we can, do podcasts with people. We can interview people. We can even pay for it in these days, where it's like you can pay people to endorse your products. I mean, Nike are the champions of this. They pay athletes to wear their stuff. And then all of a sudden Nike does really, really well. But this is one I don't think many business owners are paying enough attention to at all, is like, whose trust would be amazing for your business? If your brand was represented by a certain person or marketplace, what kind of effect would that have?
100%. And I think this also, like, this very nicely kind of like piggybacks on the last point about leveraging other people's experiences. And it's like, if you want the trust of some person, let's just say you wanted the trust of Sir C over here, Mr. Charley. It's like the easiest way to do that is to leverage their experience and join their group, and then have the connection where you can show that they should put their trust in you. Because that's the other thing, is like, yes, you can pay for some things, but sometimes it's hard to get, because it's like, how do you show them and how do you give them the experience that what you have is trustworthy enough for them to endorse, so then it doesn't backfire on them?
Great point there as well. So sometimes there's a mix of things, but I completely agree. Is like, it can be very beneficial to, get involved in someone's program or hire them for coaching or get around them, just attend events they're at so you can build a real relationship so you can have things around that. Very, very good point there, Kim. I think marketers are probably the best at this. Like, I don't know many marketers that don't have a photo. I mean, even in the background right now, I can see your 2 Comma Club award because, you're essentially leveraging Russell Brunson's trust there. And it's a really, really powerful strategy. So a lot of marketers doing that type of stuff or photos with big names, we see more and more commonly these days.
Yeah. And I mean, even the same, like you see every, like whenever someone is doing a product launch or something like that, it's generally a really, like if they're a good, for example, there's a guy called Todd Herman doing a product launch at the moment. Everyone that is positioned well, and obviously they have a relationship, are telling me how good he is at the moment and how much I should buy it and why I should buy it and all these types of things. And that's the probably the old school internet marketers that do it very well, and the fact where they do their JV affiliate launches and things like that, and they just work so well because you are leveraging completely the whole like trust but also like what's the right word? Just like the believability of one person or one brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's huge. Now we're going to go into the last category here, category number 5, which I think you're all probably stronger at than I am, but we'll see. Category number 5 is technology. So I think there's a lot of leverage to be had in technology. And the area that I look to the most here that I think's had the biggest lifts is marketing. I think there's a lot of leverage that's been created through the internet. We look at marketing automation. We look at platforms like Facebook where you can literally pay money and they'll send your content or ads to more people. It's amazing. So I'll get you to weigh in this one, but where's the biggest areas of leverage in technology that you see today, Kim?
Yeah, 100%. And it's so true. It's basically across the board. But now having the ability for basically every platform to have some sort of integration with another, like Zapier is literally like, I want to find that person, do that, and just give them a big kiss on the head, because like the ability to integrate things so well using that one tool is ridiculous. And the biggest thing that we've been doing is finding and connecting, automating through Facebook Messenger chatbots, which we did a whole episode on previously, and tying that into then every single other platform, pushing it across into a CRM, pushing it across and updating and automated emails, and even having someone register in a chatbot, automatically press one button and they've shared their email and phone number, and then pushing those details to Webinar Jam and registering them for a webinar, like all in the space of 2 clicks, I think is just ridiculous. If you think about how long previously it would take people to do things. And, I look recently, I did a direct mail campaign where I posted out a written sales letter to people just to kind of see the emphasis and how it would work and everything like that. And afterwards I was like, how did the guys, it's like, I have so much respect for people that did the direct mail. I was like, I don't even know how many people got my letter. I don't know how many people opened it. I don't know what they did. If they did open it, I can kind of see how many people went to my link I shared with them in there. How do I know how many people typed it in wrong? Like all these things. And it's like, I feel so naked in the fact of doing that. And then when I look at, the other things I'm doing in all the automation, like, cool, I know every single step of the way what's happening and what's going on. It's a completely different ball game, and it's like, as I said, utmost respect to people that did direct mail and stuff like that, because freaks me out not being able to see what actually happened with all my mail pieces that went out. It kind of it frustrated me a bit there.
It's a really interesting one. I often think about this as like, how did business do anything before the internet? Like, there's been business for a while. Like, let's be real. Let's say the internet's been big. I'll say since like 2000 is when the internet really started. Let's be real. Maybe 95, but that's when the internet got big. And like, business has been around a lot longer than that. And I just look at the efficiencies the internet's provided as a leverage point, which is just crazy. But even in the last couple of years, we've seen some huge steps here in technology. But I'm going to lay down my favorite. Like, without doubt, I think this is the biggest leverage in the technology space is video. I think video's become the biggest point. So even right now, we're making a video effectively. But every time I make a video, I'm effectively duplicating myself and creating it where it can be viewed or used in another time frame. And I'm using video everywhere. So I'll describe this. We're using video for the podcast. I also use video for like onboarding people into the association. I also create videos when I'm giving tasks to my staff. So when I'm, wanting one of my guys to do it, I create a Loom video and I send them the video on what I want done. If I'm talking to friends, like I've even found myself in Facebook Messenger now, is I'll just use the quick features to record a video and just talk to them. So I really feel like for me, like the biggest leverage point in technology space for myself, and I know there's many others, but certainly video has been the biggest one for me this year. And I think that's something we can all use a lot more. Yeah, I'll give that from there. But the second one I'd have to give without doubt is social media. Like how many people we can reach on social media so easily these days, is just crazy. And I think that's another huge leverage point compared to your old direct mail campaign. A bit more challenging, bud.
Exactly. It's like, I would, I don't know how much success I would have there, but it's so true. All those aspects like come together and it just makes it so much easier in comparison to, as you say, how business would have to operate 20 years ago. It's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, so I want to recap quickly, and I'm going to read back. So if anyone's watching the video, you'll see my eyes turn. But these are where it happens. If you want to create more leverage in your business, so if you're someone that wants to create effectively more freedom and have more work or things happen in your business without requiring more of you, these are the categories you've got to put some attention into. So number one, other people's time. So this is staff and contractors. Number two is other people's money, learning to leverage credit cards or working capital, as Kim's phrased it there, or bank loans or investor money. Like they're all really powerful ways in which leveraging other people's money can make a huge difference in your business. The next one is other people's experiences. So this is mentors, this is groups and masterminds. Like we've mentioned ours along the way, we have a group and mastermind called the Association where you can come in there and leverage our experiences or the experiences of the members, which can make a huge difference. Or you might just want to hire an expert. Like if you want to get on, I don't know, Upwork and hire an Infusionsoft expert for an hour, like you can leverage all their experience to help you get that little bit further ahead. Another one, other people's trust. So as I said, if someone that was huge in your industry was endorsing your brand, what kind of difference could it make? How could you borrow someone's trust or pay for that trust or build a relationship to get that type of trust to make a difference in your business? And if you need an example of that one, just look to Nike. They're the best at it. Like Jordan even has his own brand. Like it's crazy. But I think that the sports industry does that phenomenally well. And then the last one is technology. So what tools are out there these days which can make your life so much easier, or technology as in the way of like video, which we're making right now. So they're the 5 areas of leverage. And I think if you put effort into each of those areas, you're certainly going to see an ability where you create a lot more leverage in your business and really a lot more freedom so you can spend times on things that I guess are more important to you or are really going to make the difference in your business. So that's our list, Kim. How do you feel about the list?
I think that's solid. Like if you did that, you would have so much leverage in your business, so much ability as well. Because you have to you can put these things in place, but you still have to execute upon them, right? So you'd have so much more ability to create that leverage.
Absolutely. Well, it's all a compound effect. Even just starting with a bit, then you can get a bit more. More leverage leads to more leverage. So maybe that's my quote. We'll make an Instagram quote out of this. Leverage leads to more leverage. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up on this one. This has been Confessions of a Business Owner with Kim, and I am your fellow co-host, Charlie. Thank you so much for being on this show. That's it for this one.
Adios.